Shalom everyone from Israel. This is George Whitten, editor of Worthy News. Just wanted to share with you how Worthy News operates, how it functions, and how to best utilize the news service. We've designed Worthy News to be completely user-friendly. We don't run any ads or anything that is unnecessary for user engagement. We've designed Worthy News for speed and for usability. As you can see, we score a near perfect score. A 99% score on page speed and a 99% score on Y-Slow score. Now, depending on where you live and how close you are to our servers, you should be able to download our site within 2 seconds. And most of the time, if you're a regular reader of Worthy News, you should be able to download it in under a second. Now, since we're ad-free, we're not really interested in how many stories are being read. What we're interested in how stories are being prayed through. While many news organizations over the past 10 years or so have become completely tabloid, it's because they're trying to sell ads. I know this why, because a few weeks ago we had a story covering how Hillary Clinton threw a Bible at a Secret Service agent. It was the most read story of the week. And the second most read story of that week was how Tim Tebow, the football player, prayed for a man while on a plane. While these were interesting stories, they weren't what I would have considered the most worthy stories to be read that week. Now, on our front page, we have a compilation of stories from over 50 newspapers. Now, our top stories aren't necessarily updated daily. However, they are the most significant or the most prophetically relevant stories of the week. Obviously, what's happening in Iran and Turkey are significant, as these two locations are mentioned as part of a coalition of nations that will come against Israel in the Gog-Magog war mentioned in Ezekiel 38 and 39. Now, our latest headlines are updated daily, and there are significant stories to be prayed through. However, they may not be the most prophetically relevant stories. Obviously, what's happening in Israel is significant as we approach Tish B'Av, or the 9th of Av. We need to be carefully watching any potential for an outbreak of war in the Middle East. And as we look over the headlines, a lot of focus is on the 2016 U.S. elections. So we're carefully watching the headlines and bringing you the most relevant stories. Now, very often, we'll come across 5 or 6 stories covering a headline. For example, when Mike Pence accepted the RNC vice presidential nomination, he started his speech saying, "I am a Christian, conservative, and Republican in that order." Now, what I found interesting was, out of all the stories that I read, only one covered this quote that he started his speech with. And so when we put together the stories, we're trying to figure out which story is not only the headlines that are worthy, but which of those headlines of the covering news organizations is actually the best or the most worthy. We obviously are covering what's happening within the realm of Christianity. We want to know what's happening, obviously what's happening with revival breaking out in Iran, and we're covering what's happening to believers around the world. Now, I want to show you a really, really cool section that I actually developed for myself. It's called the 24/7 section. And the 24/7 news section, see, it's impossible for us to visit 50 or 60 news sites a day. For example, these are the headlines from the Washington Times. If I wanted to see all the headlines from CNN, that's how quick I can actually read through all the CNN headlines. If I wanted to see the Fox News headlines, these are all the Fox News headlines. As you can see, I load these sites up very, very quickly, and I'm able to actually go through. I was able to read the news from 4 news services within a few seconds. And since we're drawing their news feeds, as soon as they update their own sites, it's updated in our site. So you have the latest of the headline news. For example, this is what's happening inside of Israel. This is the Jerusalem Post headlines for what's happening. This would be what's happening in times of Israel. As you can see, it loads up very, very quickly. We're obviously covering what's happening in the U.S. And so these are all the different news organizations you can look at to see what's happening in the U.S. If you happen to be in the UK, we have a UK section. We have a 24/7 Canadian section. We have a 24/7 Australian section. We're obviously covering what's happening inside of the Christian realm. So these are the main Christian news organizations covering what's happening to believers. Since we made our news service very, very fast, it's incredibly easy to view on a phone or a tablet. The great thing about Worthy News is we're able to go ahead, and if you were actually looking at this on your phone, this is how it would look. It would look essentially the same on your phone, and because it loads so fast, it's able to be viewed within a second or two on your phone. Now, I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you don't yet get our Worthy Briefs, go ahead and sign up. You put your email address, first name, last name. We just send out a brief Monday through Friday along with a little daily devotional. It's free. It doesn't cost anything. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Thanks for listening, and as we say goodbye, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. And may the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you his shalom, his peace. Thank you for listening.